Welcome to Bob's Radio Cafeteria. You can find me facebook.com/Bob's Radio Cafeteria. You can also find me on Comfortably Zoned Radio Network on iTunes, which features, of course, my good friend Ralph Tycho and my other good friend Fred Lazarus with his Derfcast podcast. Yes! Anyways, this week, this time, this month, whatever you want to say, my guest is the one, the only, Nina Hartley. Nina, are you there?
I'm here. Wow! After a setup like that, how could I not be happy?
Yay! Before we start, tell people where they can find you on the internet.
On the internet, they can find me on Twitter at NinaLand. I do not have Snapchat nor Instagram. I'm on Facebook, hardly, sort of. Am I not safe for work? Not safe for work. Website is nina.com. And more importantly, for people who want sex advice that is mom approved, they can go to Tuesdays with Nina. Just do on the interweb, search for Tuesdays with Nina. And a vlog I did years ago pops up, and that's really very low key, no swearing, no makeup, no nudity, just sex questions.
And that's what we need, and no better than you. And before we start, too, we have to give acknowledgement to you know who, the one, the only, Howie Gordon. We have to give him
Howie, woo, and the crowd goes wild.
The Pittsburgh crowd.
I met Howie very early in my career, and we've been fast friends ever since. I was so looking forward to having him as my work husband, but then that pesky little HIV thing started up, and he, since he had kids, he retired. It was like, no, boo, well, pooey.
How did you do it?
But man's got kids, man's got to do what a man's got to do.
Like he said in my interview, and he says in his book, it's what his wife said to him. It's like, don't you think you should start thinking about, like...
Don't you think someone should be left alive to raise the children?
Exactly.
And it's like, and that was a brick wall. And I don't have children, so I did not have that worry hanging over me. And, good thing he did. Well, I'm still here, and he's still here. His kids are amazing. And he is now a grandpa, which is so fantastic.
Because you both were in the documentary After Porn Ends, and it's on Netflix and Hulu or Hulu and Netflix.
Oh, okay.
It's really wonderful, and if anyone hasn't seen it, I said it in the Howie interview, and I'll say it now with Nina. Please watch After Porn Ends. It's a marvelous documentary, and it's how I came in contact with Howie, and then of course you. So I wanted to ask you. Actually, let's piggyback off what you said. What we're talking about, Howie, when the HIV scare came in the mid '80s. What was your reaction? What was going on through your head during that whole time?
Well, I was, so I started stripping in 1982, and I started movies in 84. So around 84, the HIV situation was clearly more than gay people. And as a nurse, I just knew at the time that, of course, nothing is, quote-unquote, the gay cancer. We're humans. It has nothing to do with orientation and everything to do with behavior, which, of course, we know is true. Mm-hmm. But at the time, Haitians, intravenous drug users, and gay and bisexual men were these horrible, horrible people. And I really wanted to make porn. I really wanted to be here. And so I put on my nursing cap, and I sussed out the difference between probability and possibility. And we have to remember that, adult movie sex is not like real life sex. Right. So in real life, you're turned on, she's turned on, you may be dribbling pre-ejaculate, it's all gooey and wet and licious and delicious and fabulous and, real sex, personal sex. For better or for worse, sex performance is a performance, and so we manufacture erections from the outside in. So, the guys get in their heads, they masturbate, maybe I'll help, and they get an erection. But it's pretty dry sex. The women are not super lubricated. That's why we have lube. And the men are not super duper duper turned on, which is there's very little pre-ejaculate in men in porn because it's just they're not aroused at that level. So, and then I didn't do anal sex. I certainly wasn't going to let people have ejaculate inside of me, which is that's just crazy stupid. So for me, is it possible to transmit HIV with rather dry amounts of intercourse with intact mucosa and external ejaculation? Yes, possible. Is it probable? Absolutely not. Absolutely improbable to get it that way. So I didn't do anal sex. I didn't do needles. I didn't have sex with men, have sex with men. I did not let anybody ejaculate inside me except my husband. And I said, you know what? That's a risk I'm willing to take. And 32 years later,
there you are.
It is, March of 2016 will mark the beginning of my 33rd year in porn.
Wow! Congratulations.
And so I'm a feminist, from way back, and so for all the uproar over the supposed derogatory intention of external ejaculation on the part of the male partner onto the female partner is actually what kept us safe all those years, because we actually were not being bombarded with all this body fluid. The guidelines came out in the early 80s, for lack of a better point, come on me, not in me.
Right.
And that is, and as a swinger, that's just polite. That's just polite. So if you're a person, if you're a receiving person who has sex with a lot of different people, honestly, minimize your exposure to ejaculation, either with condoms, and even with guys who make love with condoms. If they want to pull out and jerk off on my boobs, that's a great place to come. I like that. That's a wonderful place to deposit your whatever, because boobies, and who doesn't like boobies?
And men love boobies.
Right, and so all that going forward, and then the ELISA test came out, the Western blot / ELISA test, which is a really accurate test, but it is inadequate for the purposes of professional movie making. So if you take an ELISA test or a Western blot test and it comes up positive, you do indeed have HIV, because it measures antibodies. And antibodies don't just come up out of nowhere. Unfortunately, antibodies to HIV can take up to 6 months to show up. So I do a cheek swab and I come up negative. It's like, well, that's negative as of 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So adult entertainment went through a lot of crisis in the early 90s when one very popular performer was found out to have been forging
HIV.
his tests and doing a lot of what we call anal cream pies. So so he willfully did this and ended up infecting 7 people. So the business just about shut down permanently at that time. Luckily, my husband, Ernest Green, and Sharon Mitchell and Dr. Stephen York got together and came up with Adult Industry Medical Healthcare Clinic, AIDS Healthcare Clinic, or AIM. Adult Industry Medical, AIM. And that, and through them and through a lot of work on the part of my husband and Dr. York, my husband was the first person who's not an HIV, not a drug user nor a gay man, to request a PCR DNA HIV test at UCLA. And so it turned out it was a 2-week turnaround. It cost $200 and, of course, not adequate for our purposes and too expensive. And he said, what if we could get you 40 tests a day? Oh, well then, overnight. And so it shot way down and overnight. So now the standard, for years we used the PCR DNA test, which, and then we test every 30 days. So you show me your test, I show you my test, hey. And now we are using, and that was started in 04, I believe, was the first, or was it 98? Or it was 98 was the first PCR DNA test. In 2004, we had the most recent onset transmission of HIV. From 2004 to 2016, there have been no further onset transmissions of HIV, despite tens of thousands of sex acts portrayed.
Yeah.
So now we have a very good test. So again, you pee in a cup, you give some blood, and now the testing window is every 2 weeks. It used to be every 30 days. Now it's every 2 weeks, because this test is so sensitive. How sensitive is it?
How sensitive is it?
It's so sensitive that it will pick up the virus within 2 weeks of infection. So the PCR RNA test is not a diagnostic, but it does, instead of testing for the antibodies, it tests for the virus itself.
Wow. Amazing.
And so now It's amazing. So now we have a wonderful filter. So before you can make a movie, you got to get tested. So
you should anyways. I mean, duh.
Well, of course. But anyway, so now we have a great test, and so many people. There have been several people, maybe as many as a dozen, who had sought to enter adult entertainment and took the test and discovered they're HIV positive and were turned away. So it is a very, very good filtering tool. And again, everybody gets tested. A fresh test, aka air quote fresh test, means 1 of 2 weeks or newer. Now, and that is through something called talent testing. But if you go to iknowmystatus.com, iknowmystatus.com, you can find access to the clinics that we use and that for regular people can test. So you can test like a porn star, so you can party like a porn star. And this is overnight testing. This is overnight results. So you test by 4 o'clock on Monday, and by 3 o'clock on Tuesday, you know your status. And so what I tell people, this is why I don't like having sex with drunk people, because now I know. So I tell people, if you cannot find something non-intercourse related to do until the test results come back, you are too young to be having sex.
Absolutely.
Or too drunk. Both of which leave you at. So if you cannot wait 24 hours and cool your jets or find something fun and sexy to do that doesn't involve death or babies for 24 hours, then you should probably be thinking about something else to be doing instead. So now the public has a great resource. iknowmystatus.com. Show up a system, a testing clinic near you. It's overnight. It's about $130, but wouldn't you like to know?
I would, yeah. And
right?
if you call now and tell them Nina sent you, you'll get an additional 10% off.
Well, actually, there is a code they can use. I don't have a code. Actually, if you go to if a person books a test through iknowmystatus.com and uses the code YYS, as in Frank, 967, they will get a discount.
Yay!
Woo-hoo. I think it's $10. Hey. So the system. So while HIV did throw Howie out of the business, much to my heartbreak, we now have a very safe system that is proven quite effective in eliminating onset transmission of HIV. Now, if people listening to this dig into the situation here in California a little more, they're going to find references to AHF, AIDS Healthcare Foundation, something called Measure B, and a person called Michael Weinstein. So he is head of one of the largest NGO HIV/AIDS care organizations in the world. It's huge. It has a multi-million-dollar war chest.
Wow!
And he has turned his attention to making condoms and other barrier protections mandatory for adult entertainment. No, I don't love it. It's for mandatory.
For adult entertainment. Oh, I get what you. I thought I meant for yes.
No, so he's just he is anyway. So it's extremely deleterious. And why is it bad? Isn't condoms a good thing? There's industrial pornography sex, and then there's regular sex.
Right.
And for industrial pornography sex, testing is a better protection than condoms. For real life people, when you just met them, hey, you know what? We need to slap a rubber on that because I don't even know who you are. And for people who even know their status, condoms are still excellent for birth control and other forms of STD mitigation. But for porn, for professional level, industrial strength intercourse, condoms are less than adequate. We'll just say that. And so in the 11 years since we've had an onset transmission of HIV here in LA,
2004.
We've had tens of thousands of cases so we've had tens of thousands of active intercourse, no transmission of HIV in LA County as a whole, which is the constituency that AIDS Healthcare Foundation works for. There have been about 28,000 new cases. So clearly his hobby horse of getting condoms in porn for the messaging it sends is clearly not based on science or medical fact. So and using me and my friends as guinea pigs, because what he wants to propose has never been tried anywhere, and what we've been doing has been tried now since 1998, and it's done a great job. So we'll get off on different more fun topics, but Michael Weinstein is in my view, a mountebank who is politically and ego-driven in this particular case. It is not, the adult entertainment business does not pose a threat to the general public. The general public poses more of a threat to adult entertainment performers because they are not tested. How many people listening to this medium that we're talking about know their status? Know for sure. For not think I know, sort of know. I wonder if I know. No.
I don't know.
I know.
I don't know. Yeah.
Right. I get tested 12 to 24 times a year, and I have now for 15 years. So I know.
Yeah.
So
we know that Nina Hartley is clean.
Right. But I know my status.com is available now to anybody. So yay! Woohoo!
Thank you so much for that. And even people go there, because Nina said to go there, and it's a great thing.
Well, no, it's just the biggest, the whole, is porn bad for people. The biggest thing I could do for the takeaway here is for people who people who consume adult entertainment.
Yep. $1 billion enterprise, by the way.
We don't even know how much it is anymore. It's all falling apart because of the internet.
Oh,
but
right,
for people who consume adult programming, hardcore adult programming,
right.
They have to be advised that it is a movie. We are professionals, and your mileage may vary. So in real life, there's porno sex and real life sex. In porno sex, in real life, men do not jump out of the gate hard as a rock and stay there for 90 minutes. In real life, most men are not 8+ inches. In real life, most people do not have intercourse for an hour and a half in 4 different positions. It's a movie. It's supposed to be entertaining. It's supposed to be fun.
Yes.
So in real life, sex with a partner is supposed to promote fun, bonding, caring, intimacy, a good time, and
love, whatever,
whatever, or even friends helping each other out. But it's in real life, partner sex is supposed to be about the connection between the people, however slight or deep, long-term or new, romantic or sport. It's about the two people involved. If a movie helps inspire you to get down and have a good time, right on. But please don't copy what we're doing, because in real life, anal sex doesn't work that way. In real life, it just doesn't work that way. So it's a movie. And by that, I mean that it's a paid professional performance of a fantasy scenario, not meant to be real. I tell people to think of pornography as live action cartoons.
Yeah.
And that helps keep it in perspective. It's like, okay, you can't be Superman. You don't learn to drive by watching Fast and Furious movies, and you don't learn how to be a spy by watching James Bond.
Nope.
And you don't learn how to be a better lover by watching, pornography.
Howie Gordon, early '80s with Nina Hartley.
Well, now there is a small, I would say like 1.5 of 1%, 0.5% of adult programming is educational in intention, meaning so I have a 40 episode explicit sex ed called the Nina Hartley Guide from Adam and Eve.
Right.
Jessica
Drake has a book too.
Yeah, and book, and Jessica Drake has Wicked Sex, and so there is specifically, and there's Sinclair Institute. There are definitely educational videos out there designed to teach that are also explicit, but most people watch porn for the fun, for the fantasy, for the amusement, and if they try to copy that in real life, they probably will either feel inadequate, do something regretful, or just feel stupid. So don't do that.
And we don't want that. Do not do that.
It's always about the people in the room. So always remember that. The good. I never have bad sex anymore. What? How can that be? It's because I'm better at the who, the what, the where, the when, and the why.
Well, you wrote the book, Nina Hartley's Guide to Total Sex. If you write a book called The Guide to Total Sex, you better not be having bad sex.
right? But I did for years.
Oh.
I did for years. No, before I understood about myself, before I understood how to, communicate, set boundaries, all the things that you need to learn how to be better at sex.
And Ernest Green, your husband Ernest Green, is a very lucky man. There we go.
And I'm a very lucky lady because, it's very hard to find a man who can be a real partner to a woman who is in the sex business in any capacity.
Absolutely.
So it's very hard to find a guy who is not going to have issues with that. Luckily, right, since it's someone for everyone, I found the right guy for me. Yay romance. I'm a huge romantic, and I want everyone to be happy, Rob. I want everyone to be happy.
I want everyone to be happy. You want everyone to be happy, and we're happy. We're trying to be happy here.
We're trying to be happy, but if you cannot be alone with yourself in a room and feel okay, then you can't be happy anywhere, right?
Absolutely.
So that is why meditation is popular. That is why therapy is very good. But eventually, a person, whatever his or her experience, history, training, culture, media exposure, whatever, eventually a person's going to be alone with themselves. And how are they there? My job as a sex educator, as a nurse, as a teacher, as a person who wants everyone to be happy, my job is to help people develop the skills so they can be alone with themselves and not feel crazy.
That's a wonderful, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
It is,
perfect,
and
beautiful thing.
And everybody can do it.
Everybody that's outside of California right now is going like, "Oh God, here go two Californians talking about."
Well, you know what? But I'll tell you why it can work for everybody, because my theory, my practice, my way into this is body based and, more importantly, pleasure focused. So when each individual adult takes it upon him, her, or themselves to reorient their personal relationship to physical pleasure. Specifically erotic pleasure, not eating pleasure or other kinds of pleasure, but genitally focused. Right. When we undertake that task to really look at, confront, unpack, unwind, and reorient our relationship to pleasure, that's where all the healing is. Luckily, you have genitals. I have genitals. Most people have genitals.
Yes.
Know what the special thing is about genitals, Robert?
What?
Is that they are full of nerve endings that are connected to a very special part in our brain that makes us happy and releases oxytocin and endorphins, and it promotes bonding and pleasure, relaxation, lower blood pressure, better sleep, all these things. So our body.
You just thought it was just a thing dangling there, folks. Look at all that stuff.
I know.
My Lord.
I know, right? Crazy. So Mother Nature was very clever. And gave human people, and I think bonobos and dolphins, and there's a couple other animals are known to engage in sexual activity that is not procreative in.
Right.
But humans beat everybody else at bonobos. So we are sex crazed maniacs. So humans, as a general rule, have tens or dozens of active intercourse per pregnancy, and some of us, like me, have thousands of active intercourse per pregnancy because humans in the Western world have learned how to control our fertility. Woohoo! Yay, women's rights! Woo! Yeah, that's
the crowd goes wild.
The world, right? So when we decide that, I'm going to be alone with myself, I'm going to get some lube, I'm going to turn off the phone, I'm going to lock the door, I'm going to play some nice music, I'm going to take my hand and extend it to where it reaches. Oh my God, it's the perfect length. What?
Hello?
Right?
Hello?
Whose idea was that? So either if you believe in God, then God made your hand just the right length, arm just the right length. If you believe in evolution gave us an arm that's just the right length. Go figure.
Everything is on us for a reason. Everything.
Right. Exactly. So going back to what I believe in evolution. So if female pleasure was not important for the evolution of humans and the creation of human culture and human society, we would not have evolved to have a clitoris. We would have a hole with which to eliminate fluids, and we would have a hole through which to push babies. And that's it. But we don't. Now, do we?
No. I know my studies, my sex education studies, and you don't.
That's right. We have a whole place that's just for fun. Crazy.
Yay!
Crazy. So, pleasure is really important, and whether a person is monogamous, celibate, non-monogamous, it doesn't matter. Eventually, the smallest single unit of sexuality is the individual.
That's
it's
me.
It's you alone in the shower. Hey, woo! And so each one of us can heal ourselves in our own time, at our own pace, in our own way, for our own ends, whenever we want, because a minute here, 20 minutes there, a whole afternoon, just learning how to be with yourself and breathe and feel all the feels and feel all the fear and the anger and the lying and the whatever negative things have been taught about our bodies, about sex, all the stuff, and you can replace each second of fear, you can replace it with a second of pleasure, and eventually you even out and become basically sane. Now, this can take years. Took me years. I don't know.
We're always learning every day. We have to grow every day.
That's right. Yay, Robert. Woo! And the crowd goes wild. So Nina, why porn? Well, first, it's full of naked ladies.
Yeah.
That's definitely the most amazing.
And for the ladies, there's naked guys. Yes.
Right. And I like boys and girls, but in the beginning. Yep. Let's face it, for people who are cisgender heterosexual men, and ladies out there who love them, ladies, that I got into porn because that's what the naked ladies are, because it's hard to get ladies to go to bed with you. If you're a female person between 18 and 50, it's not hard to get a guy to go home with you and have quote-unquote sex for free. Now, the sex might be bad sex, i.e. clumsy or awkward or not very good, but you can still get, pardon the expression, you can get free dick.
That's it. Absolutely.
But getting a woman to go home with you, oh, my God, and I had no social skills at the time. For me, porn was great because the ladies showed up, they'd already said yes, and they're going to get naked. Like, this is great. So all I had to do was learn how to interact with bodies because they'd already gotten themselves there. People, I cannot tell you how to meet people. I cannot tell you how to talk to people. Once you have agreed to be naked together, I can help anybody. But getting to that point, that's another class, another book, another coach, another something.
Is there another book? Is there another book in your future? Because, again, we have Hartley's Guide to Total Sex.
I'm sure there'll be a book in my future, probably more of the memoir thing, but I have not even
thinking. You should have a memoir. I mean,
Well, no, watching Howie do his was pretty great, actually. I really did appreciate it. It's a lot of fun. Hindsight, for those of you who have not read it yet.
I have, yes. And people need to read this book.
Right. It's fun. He's just got a lot of heart. He is, in Yiddish, he's what we call a mensch, M-E-N-S-H.
Or
as
I like to call him, because they say in Pittsburgh, he's a jagoff. But
oh, wait, are you a Stiller fan too?
No, I'm not, but he taught me the term jagoff. He's like, in Pittsburgh, they have this. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, so I was.
Oh no, I'm a Niners fan. Do we still like each other?
We do, because it's been a while, and
we both had a bad year. I
still forgive you for 1981, the catch. I'll tell you that.
Right, yeah. But didn't the Cowboys have a better year than the Niners? They were 4-12. Weren't the Cowboys at least 500?
No, they were horrible this year. They were awful. They only won 4 games.
Because Romo was sick, was hurt most of the year, and when we came back, they started doing better. I think we're both 4-12. It was pathetic. A bad year. You
guys just fell apart. I mean, any organization that scares away, that pushes away Jim Harbaugh, it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Thank you. Yes, you tell them yes what you said.
And by the way, they're not the San Francisco 49ers anymore, folks. They play in San Jose, Santa Clara, which is right next to San Jose.
No, they're not the Santa Clara Niners. Oh my God, no.
No.
You stop it. You just stop that, young man. I dare say.
But speaking of the Bay Area, you grew. I live in Oakland. I'm in Oakland right now, and you grew up in, of course, Berkeley, California. You actually went to Berkeley High, which I see probably once a week. You're one of the most famous alumni of Berkeley High.
I'm an alumna.
Alumna. Oh, excuse me. I'm
yeah, right. Well, anyway, yes, my class is 77, and oh my gosh.
Have you ever gone to any of your reunions?
Oh yes, I've gone to all of them. I love them. I love going.
And I want to ask you too. It says, I'm reading this thing on Wikipedia. It says, I knew you were from Berkeley. I knew you went to Berkeley High. I've known that. I've heard that before. And I was like, that's cool. But then I thought I should read her wiki page, some stuff. And it says her parents were communists who converted to Buddhism when she was young. Tell me about that.
Yes.
That's interesting. But I mean, I know it's Berkeley. It's Berkeley. So, I mean, people outside of the Bay Area might think like, what? But here it's pretty norm. But just for the story's sake, let's hear about that.
Well, my mother is a southern Jew, a secular Jew, and her father and mother
from Alabama, right? Alabama.
Yeah, and got into civil rights activism in the 30s.
Wow.
That was very dangerous. And my father started working for social justice. He became a communist in I want to say right after the war. Because he wanted to
W2 or WW2?
Yeah. W2. Yeah. My father was born in 1915, so he came to Berkeley.
Oh yeah. He couldn't. He came
to Berkeley. You're right. He came to Berkeley after the war, and so he showed up in 1945. And my mother and her family moved from Alabama to Berkeley in 1941 and went to Davis, and where my grandfather taught physics, and my mother worked in the war effort. My grandmother made homemade meals for lonely soldier boys, who came courting my mother. So they were already in the social justice realm of things. And they tried, but the 60s were very tumultuous. My father was blacklisted in 1957, so when I was born...
Was that during the whole McCarthy era?
He was one of the last people to get popped. To be served a subpoena.
Disgusting.
He did eventually win his case on First Amendment grounds, Hartman versus U.S. versus Hartman. I don't know what the case number is, but you can
look it up. I'll look it up.
You can look up when I'm going to the Supreme Court, but by then his career was ruined, and he was ruined. And so I grew up with a father who had smashed against the wall of his ideology and plunged his family into turmoil. So while they're picking up the pieces all through my very young childhood with this therapy and that therapy, because it was the 60s in Berkeley, luckily they never touched Hare Krishna, Est, or Scientology, praise be, and they ended up with Zen Buddhism. And so when I was 10, they stuck it. My mother's still doing it. My father, he's been dead since, since January 2011. But he...
Oh, my condolences.
He was 95. He was great. He was a great guy.
Beautiful
he lived a
life.
good life.
Wow.
It was great. It was the best death. Short of dropping dead, it's the best exit you could possibly hope for. And so I grew up with them from age of 10 on, being around the Zen Center and hanging out there. And so for me, Buddhism is the religious philosophy with which I'm most comfortable, with which I'm most familiar.
Do you still practice? Do you still practice certain Buddhist things?
I practice Buddhist precepts. I'm not myself religious. I do not have a practice. I don't have a meditation practice. I don't keep an altar. I don't light incense or chant or anything like that. But the concept of personal responsibility, mindfulness, and compassion really do work. They really do work.
I
And
agree.
anybody is out there who wants some beginning stuff should look to Sherry Huber, CheriHuber. She's written a wonderful series of books that really just literally saved my life. The one I first met her through is a book called There Is Nothing Wrong with You, and I highly recommend it. Anything she writes is great, very accessible.
I'll look for it in the library. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to be a Buddhist in order to appreciate what she's saying, and it does not get in the way of having other faith traditions that you want to follow. So she's great. She's very useful, very helpful. And I realize, with sex is so scary for people that what makes the Nina brand or the Nina idea of Nina so powerful is the same.
The all-encompassing Nina.
Well, this is why going to an accountant. Why you go to an accountant for numbers, because that's what they do.
They're accountants.
and they like numbers. They've learned how to deal with numbers, and it's all good. And they like numbers. Numbers don't fade. They say, "Yay, numbers!" And I know people like that. So for me, the one thing that most people are terrified of, I'm completely comfortable with, which is, air quotes, sex.
S-E-X.
Right. And so I'm very comfortable in that world. I'm comfortable with, if it's consensual, I'm completely down to help make it happen. And that means consent, means consent, which means that, active affirmative consent. I want to do this thing. So I've done enough of it. I've had enough sex to lose my fear of it, but not my respect for it.
Interesting.
So, because it takes a lot. That could
be the name of your autobiography, right there.
Right, exactly, right there.
There
lost
it
the fear, but lost the fear, kept the respect. But it's really, most people don't, because sex is so fraught with our self-worth and our image and our feelings of acceptability and
especially in our culture,
also in our culture. And if you're a monogamous person, you don't get a lot of chances, because if you're a person who needs love and sex in the same person, to the exclusion of all other people, that makes winnowing out potential partners even more fraught. I am a non-monogamous person, so I have my romantic love sex with my husband, which is awesome. And reciprocal love sex is truly the bomb. It's the best.
Yay.
It's really great.
But
there's many other ways of being sexual that are valuable, useful, healing, positive, and fun. And so as a person who's not monogamous, I have been able to find that. And that's why I've been able to have so much sex, because I don't need my sex with the same person all the time. That's not how I operate best. I like sex with a lot of people over time.
Right.
And develop different relationships. I'm a kind of a polyamorous person, I guess.
You're polyamorous. Okay, gotcha. And explain for our listeners that don't know what that is, can you please explain what that is?
Polyamory is a form of consensual non-monogamy that allows for each relationship to find its own level and its own depth, its own intensity. And it can involve, for people interested in polyamory, the best book is called More Than Two. You can go to morethan2.com, that's TWO, so all spelled out, morethan2.com, and hear all about it. My husband identifies more as non-monogamous, so he is, with his heart, he is a one-woman guy.
And if that
that in terms of his love, of his devotion, his loyalty, his "I'll kill anybody who hurts you," that is me. But he likes the ladies, and luckily for me, the ladies like him right back, and I facilitate that. Yeah, I facilitate that whenever possible, because the kinds of sex. You can tell if you're a non-monogamous person if the following statement makes any sense to you. The more people I play with, the more I love my partner.
Interesting.
And so if you're a non-monogamous person, you go, oh, yeah, completely, I totally get it. If you're monogamous, it's like, no, not that at all. That's a no.
That would be me, yeah.
Yeah, which all I ask is for people to know what their orientation is, so you know.
Yeah.
So you know. That's all. And
there's no right, there's no wrong.
There's no right, there's no wrong. Right. Non-monogamy is not better than, more evolved than, or a higher form of living than monogamy. It is my natural orientation, or it's not. So my sister, monogamous. She one at a time. Thank you very much. Always. She's never had any inclination ever to cheat on a partner or to have more than one guy at a time. Me, not so much.
Not so much.
I'm not better than her. I'm just different than her. And so whenever I attempted monogamy, I was always frustrated, guilty, and every time ended up cheating. And so I realized it's not that I'm a failed monogamist. I was a frustrated non-monogamist trying to live in a monogamous world. Wow. So it's useful to be able to, realize, is monogamy my real orientation, or is it just what I've been taught? I'm too scared to look at anything else, or what? So that's what we do from age 16 to 25, hopefully figure out, what am I really? This is what the culture says I have to be, this is what my family of origin says I have to be, and this is what I actually think I am. Sometimes they match, and sometimes they don't.
We don't.
But it's useful to know whether or not you act out on any of it. Doesn't matter. What does matter is, do I know what is my orientation? And orientations come in many flavors. So there's your partner desire. I prefer same-sex or different-sex partners. I consider myself, celibate, monogamous, swinger, polyamorous. I like sex once a day, once a month. I can orgasm easily, not so easily.
It just depends.
Every organism is different.
It's not a black and white thing.
Right. Exactly so. So it's really important. So morethan2.com is great for looking.
I got it right
that.
here, and the book is written by Eve Rickart. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yep, I think so.
Rickart, and Franklin Veaux, Veaux.
Right. It's wonderful. It's so well written. It's fantastic, and a really great book that talks about the prehistoric origins of our modern sexuality. It's been out a couple of years. A must-read for anybody who wants to consider themselves sexually up-to-date. It's called Sex at Dawn, and DAWN, like the dawn.
Sex at Dawn.
The dawn of
here it is.
Sex at Dawn, yes. It is so good. It is the best book.
It is
just
written
read it
by
and you feel smart. Christopher Ryan, PhD, and his wife. I can never pronounce her last name. I feel pathetic.
I don't know how to pronounce. I was waiting for you.
Oh no, I don't have my computer up. But if you go to sexatdawn.com, the book is
it's
there.
Right here. It's JETHA with a little thing over the A. So is that Jetha? I don't know.
I'm pathetic. He's going to kill me when I see him. It's like, I can't remember her name.
Sorry, Christopher. Well, we'll give you a book a plug, so there you go. Boom.
Yeah. Anyway, so for people who want to, there's so much good written material out there about sex, sexuality, and sexual expression. I'm also a member of the board of the Woodhull Freedom Alliance, woodhullalliance.org. That's WOODHULL.org, woodhullalliance.org, and it is the only organization currently working at the intersection of human rights and sexual rights, because our motto is sexual freedom is a fundamental human right. And what does sexual freedom mean? That means bodily autonomy. That means freedom to have the family of your choice and your needs, and the free to, so that's whether obviously we believe in decriminalization of consensual sex commerce naturally, but sexual rights as a human right means my body really is mine, and I can share it or not share it. I can marry whom I want. I can mix family with whom I want. I can be treated respectfully during my birthing process.
Your body.
There you go. So it's wonderful, and I'm on the board of directors.
Yay.
And we are having our 7th annual Sexual Freedom Summit this August in Alexandria, Virginia, right next to D.C. And if you go to the woodhullalliance.org website, early registration's open. So you get a good deal on the tickets.
Woodhull.org.
WOODHULL, Woodhull, named after Victoria Woodhull, the badass early sexual freedom feminist from the late 19th century, because sexual freedom and equality was her calling card. The Susan B. Anthonys of the world just sort of pushed her under the rug, and she died in obscurity. But
Woodhull
amazing
Freedom
life.
Foundation. Here it is, right
here.
Yep,
there you go. You're the best.
We got all these great, and I just wanted to make sure too about the one about the Sherry Hubbard. How do you spell that one again? Because I want to make sure that I write these down.
CHERI.
Okay.
HUBER. Sherry Huber.
And what's the last name again? Sorry.
Huber. Oh. No. Her first name is Sherry.
Got it. I got it right.
Huber.
I got her.
Got it.
I got her. Sherry. Here she is. Now I want to ask you about. Boogie Nights, of course, you're in the movie Boogie Nights. One of my all-time favorite movies. I really love that movie. Can you tell us about your experience? I mean, we know your part, and of course, how it ends up is very tragic. But of course, that's not real life. But can you tell us the cast was absolutely amazing. What was your experience like being on? I mean, that just must have been Wow.
I had a lot of fun. So it was a 60-day shoot, and I was on the set for 6 days out of the 60. And I will say this: William H. Macy is the world's nicest man.
Aw, cool.
He's just the world's nicest man, and he got engaged to Felicity Huffman during the shoot, because I remember one day on the set, they both emerged from his trailer, and she was all shy and happy, and apparently he had asked her to marry him early. Yeah, I thought so. So he's just the nicest man in the world, just decent human being, and apparently, great father, great husband, everything. You want him as your neighbor. You want him for your Boy Scout troop leader. He's just awesome.
How did you get the part? I mean, did they get you?
I got the part because the director, Paul Thomas Anderson, had been a fan of mine since probably earlier than he was supposed to be, but that doesn't matter. And so he came looking for me, but I still auditioned. So if I had not been right for the part, he would not have cast me because I had enough lines. I really enjoyed my time on the set. It's just like a porno set, except more catering stands, more makeup artists, a bigger budget, more time. But luckily my time on a movie set held me in good stead because I wasn't fazed by any of it. And
I think it was good, too, because it gave some legitimacy to the movie. It's like you got to at least have one true pornographic act. You know what I mean?
Well,
and they passed you brilliantly.
Thank you. And what really bums me out is that even in the director's cut, so, there's the famous scene of me in the driveway, which is played for laughs. But what Paul Thomas Anderson shot but didn't use, even in the director's cut, was Macy and me, Macy's character and my character, arriving at that party and leaving that party. And it gave a lot of backstory about what our dynamic was. I guess he wanted us to remain more comic. I'm not quite sure, but I was so disappointed to find out that even in the director's cut, those scenes were not put back in. It's like you took 17 takes of that one dialogue scene. Really, you couldn't find one take that you? I mean.
Well, the cool thing is you just gave us an Easter egg for that DVD that a lot of people might not know, and that's cool. I didn't know that. Wow.
If anyone can find the scene where Macy and I are getting out of his car and walking to the house, and then later on I'm in the driveway, and then later on we're leaving the house after dark and walking back to the car, I would love to know what DVD that's on, because I'll buy that, because I have never seen that. I mean, I was doing it, and it's like, this is so exciting because it's a walking two-shot with me and Louis Macy. Oh my God! Because in the other scenes, it what they call on POV. So we see what he sees with me with the first guy, then turn around and we see him. So there's no proof we're actually on the same set on the same day. But these shots that Paul Thomas Anderson cut from the final movie were us walking shoulder to shoulder talking. It was awesome. So as an actor, Macy is generous. He's kind. He is patient. He treated me like a fellow actor. He did not treat me as a lesser than. He treated me like a fellow professional.
That's so awesome.
It's so awesome, for which I'll be forever grateful.
Because a lot of the people out of the pornographic industry, when they tried to go into the mainstream film, they were always like looked down upon. I remember seeing the Ron Jeremy documentary, and it's like they just won't cast us because they put their nose down upon us. But that's nice to hear that. That you were treated.
But I've also never been in a mainstream movie since. I've done plenty of cameos in what they call micro indies or micro budget independent movies, and so I've done student art, thesis films. It's not out yet, but I'm in one called The Giant. I have no idea when it will ever see the light of day. I think it's on 2 DVDs right now. Right, he's working on his thesis. I was in. Oh my God, Dude Bro Party Massacre 3, which is a fabulous send-up of the 80s slasher movies. So that was, again, another micro.
Bubbles Galore? You were in Bubbles Galore, it says here.
I was in Bubbles Galore, and I'm also in one that's going to be coming out soon called Scumbag. I have a tiny part in that. So that's a bigger.
And the most important movie you've ever been in, and I actually asked Howie this in my interview, is you did Debbie Does Dishes, and I see here you got Best Actress for this.
Oh, I've won all the awards. Debbie Does Dishes is a great. I think if you find, I think it's not even been released on DVD, which is so sad because I would totally
right. Because Howie talks about that in my interview.
It was such a fun movie. It was such a fun movie. Oh my God. It was one of the first movies to sell 10,000 copies over time. Because during that was the 80s, so mom and pop video stores were very going, and I would go to the conventions, and then these mom and pop, video store owners, would come up and say, "Oh my gosh, this movie, we can't keep it in stock," and our adult section keeps us going. It pays all the bills.
Wow.
So of course, the mom and pop video store has gone the way of the dodo.
Yes.
Because let's face it, no one goes to a video store anymore, and people can get it all online. So for me, the internet is a decidedly mixed blessing, more bad than good overall. I think it's been bad for
what Uber's doing to taxi cabs is, yeah.
Right. I think the internet could have been just stuck to science, medicine, and universities.
Yeah.
It would have been a good thing, but it's killed a whole class of creative labor. And it's killing commerce, brick and mortar commerce. It's very sad, yeah. It's very sad.
And, one other thing I have to say is that it's when you're talking to somebody and you see that, they have all these things like, you're an author, you're this, you're that. I mean, you were a nurse. Real quickly, do you still have your nursing degree, or did it expire?
No, I have my degree, but I do not. My license is not current, and I could not. I did not keep it current, so I could not go tomorrow and get a job as a nurse. I would have to go to school.
Where were you a nurse at? Did you ever?
I never earned a paycheck. I never earned a paycheck as a nurse. I started stripping in my sophomore year. Started making movies in my junior year.
Got it.
And only on weekends. I never cut school to make porn.
Good girl.
And then I graduated magna cum laude, and I got my degree, got my diploma, got my license, and then went into adult full time. But of all the I went to school to be a nurse midwife because sex and babies are related.
San Francisco State
San Francisco State, yeah, class of '85. Oh my gosh, it's been 30. Yikes! 30 years. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
So
31.
Me, yeah, right.
We're in 2016.
I know, but barely. But anywho, so it's been 30 years since I graduated college, and of all the degrees I could have gotten, sociology, filmmaking, women's studies, social work, anything like that, nursing was the single best degree to get because it deals with bodies. Right, and so there's nothing that bodies do that upsets me or grosses me out or anything like that, because bodies do what bodies do.
Yeah, of course.
And in nursing, they talk a lot about, back in the 80s especially, is something called the psychological/social elements of everything. Every patient has a psych-social interfacing with their condition, and that includes sexual dysfunction, that includes sexual fear, that includes intimacy, all the things. Everybody who was raised in a culture, which means everybody, has these issues. And so nursing school, of all the things I could have taken, nursing school was the best for me to have done.
Excellent.
I wish I had taken a basic bookkeeping course too. My biggest, and Howie too, our biggest downfall is that we're artists first, and we did not spend enough time learning about business, and that was our mistake.
But you're two wonderful people that have amazing personalities, and I'd rather have that than whatever. And you're a Hall of Famer. You're a Hall of Famer. You're a lifetime career award. I mean, you.
Well, no woman has had a career as long as mine, and no one ever will either. Again,
nobody ever will.
Yeah.
No.
Ronnie's still in the business. He got in before I did, and I think there's no other man in the business who's been here long. Oh no, Joyce Olvera Joyce Olvera got in before me. He's mainly behind the camera now. But Joyce Olvera is still happening. I think everybody else who's working in the business came in after me.
I had a question from a friend.
Sure.
Fred Lazarus, who has a podcast named Durfcast. He wanted to ask. He's like, oh, cool, Nina Hartley. Oh, cool. Can you ask whatever happened to Taja Ray? Do you ever know what happened? He wanted to know. Taja Ray.
Okay. Yeah. Nobody ever knew how to spell her name. I pronounced it. She's been out of the business for at least 20 years. She was not good for her psychologically to be here. She came in from the East Coast, I think Philly actually, and I always thought she was beautiful, but back there she was a pouty lip princess, and out here she was derided for being fat. So it really did a number on her self-esteem. And so when she did get into trouble with methamphetamine just to lose weight, her eating became very disordered. And I haven't even heard her name hardly in 20 years, but she's been gone 20 years. So you don't know
the location. You do not know. You have
no. She is not. Most people when they leave here do not leave a forwarding address. I mean, you can find Ginger Lynn, you can find Amber Lynn, but Tasia Ray left before social media, and for her time in the business was not happy for her. It was not good for her, and it would have been better for her if she had stayed in Philadelphia, because she didn't interface with it very well. Again, if you end up in porn, it's probably not a good idea. If you decide to go into porn, it's different. It's one of those things that you get out of it what you get out of it what you bring into it. And if you come here, if you think that it's going to be easy money, or if you think it's going to be easier than working, you're going to be sadly mistaken.
And there's been a lot of casualties from sad casualties. I mean, like suicide.
I don't think per capita. I do not think it's any greater than comics.
Good point. Point well taken. Yes.
After porn ends is I find it I did not like the movie at all. Partly because he had an agenda, an anti-porn agenda that was clear, and why Luke Ford is in that movie. He was never anything but a destructive force here, and he had nothing but horrible things to say about the women in business. And so
I didn't like that either. I didn't, you're right.
Even though I'm in the movie, I did not like the movie. It was not even-handed. He definitely had an agenda. But I think he's raised Catholic, and so he already has his. So I think he went looking for confirmation bias, and he spoke to me because I'll always be in a documentary because anytime I can get my ideas out there, I'm going to take it.
Of course.
So
But you can tell there was a hidden agenda in the whole thing. Where's the documentary after comedy ends, and where's the documentary after rock and roll? After rock and roll ends,
after rock and roll ends. So people, it's more porn performers have died in car accidents than have died by their own hand. I can think of two for sure. I can think of three for sure suicides.
Savannah
and Savannah, Megan Lee, and a guy.
Oh my God! Howie talks about her. Oh my God!
Yeah. That's Megan Lee. That's Megan Lee. That's the one. He probably
no, somebody else. We're forgetting somebody else.
Oh no! That's Shauna Grant. Shauna
Grant. That's it. Yeah, thank you.
Shauna Grant, Megan Lee, Savannah are the three women that and with Shauna Grant, we don't know was it suicide or something else. It was
right. Howie was alluding to that. It's like it's kind of there's a little sketchiness to that.
But we don't know, and we never will. Unfortunately, we never will.
It's just a shame. We don't
and then Anna Mall died in a car accident.
It's just like anything else. It's, the way I've always looked at pornography, and as I learn more talking to you and talking to Howie, it's like, I said this to Howie, it's like, you guys are like the professional wrestlers. It's like there's a huge fan base, but there's no respect. People just don't. Right. They're always looking for ways to cut down.
Well, our culture makes fun of sex and does not give it the respect it deserves. And it's sad, but again, sex is universal. And
absolutely.
our mothers are right. Intercourse is a big deal. Why is intercourse a big deal? Death and babies.
We wouldn't be talking right now.
Both are really right there, and then there's that. For most people are here through unregulated, Most people are here because of intercourse and not assisted reproduction. Although that's changing, but still, 99% of babies in this country are born because somebody had intercourse with somebody else. So our mothers aren't wrong in that intercourse is a big deal, and you can't just do it with anybody. Mm-hmm. But because the consequences are great. The consequences are huge, illness or people. Wait a minute. But so I want to. But what I like, I identify as queer because I am bisexual, while I'm not myself, not gender fluid, I get along well with queer people. So I'm a queer person. I self-identify. And so one thing about straight people, and by straight I mean heterosexual, monogamous, vanilla people, when you say the word sex to them, they think automatically intercourse. Have sex with means intercourse. And so I no longer say, I would like to have sex with you. I will say, I now use the term, I would love to share sexual space with you.
Oh, wow, look at you. Wow.
And what does that do? Well, first, no one knows what that means. That means we have to talk about it. That's great. And I also, when I say I like to share sexual space with you, I'm not promising any particular behavior, nor am I promising any particular body part. So that remains to be negotiated. If I say I want to have sex with you, everyone thinks, oh, you want intercourse.
Intercourse.
Exactly. I've had intercourse in my life.
You've had a little bit, a little bit.
I've had a little bit. So that in and of itself no longer captures my attention as in, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to have intercourse with this person. But I think you're sexy. I want to share my
sexual space with you.
I like to, snuggle, masturbate, make out, kiss, dance, whatever. It can be orgasmically oriented. There's plenty of ways to have an orgasm.
Say that 5 times fast. Orgasmically
oriented. So you can have orgasms all kinds of ways. And also, guys, wouldn't you rather have a nice naked penis hand job than trying to stuff your penis into a condom and then worrying about why you don't have 10 inches? Because my biggest problem when I am sharing sexual space with my biggest problem in sharing sexual space with civilian men, i.e. men who do not have sex on camera, is that first they talk themselves out of performing because they confuse Nina Hartley, the person they see on screen, with the woman who's actually in the room with them now. And so they think that they think that, oh my gosh, my dick's not hard. She's judging me. Oh my gosh, I don't have 10 inches. She's judging me. Oh my God, I can't last an hour. She's judging me. It's like, no,
you're not, and you're not at all.
I'm not at all, because there's real sex and then there's performance sex. The two are not the same. So I'm going to use a crude word here, but I tell people the difference between daily dick and special occasion cock is 6 inches and my day rate.
There you go. Nicely.
So if I'm going to have sex in private just for my fun, I like 5 to 6 inches on a guy. Okay. But on camera it doesn't look very. On camera,
you need to have.
It's not theatrical. No. Okay. It looks quote unquote small. In real life, that's super comfy. It fits everywhere it has to fit. It can, hey, if I can help a woman achieve orgasm using just 2 fingers, clearly size is not the issue.
Absolutely not.
Oh my gosh, back to the connection with your partner. Are you both relaxed? Do you have enough time? Do y'all like each other? Are you?
I think that's the biggest thing right there. Do you like? Because we talk about love, we talk about that, but how about just let's back it up and say, do you actually like each other? Do you know each other? Yeah, no, I'm serious. Yeah, I'm totally down. I get it. And I'd rather going back to I know my status.com. What's so nice about it is, and this is what I talk to young people all the time, and what I would like to help people understand is that grown up adult people, it's adult behavior, so adults act a certain way. So adults formulate an intention and then plan for it to work. We don't let our fear and our prejudice and our ignorance fuel us to get drunk and fall into bed with somebody and wonder, what was that? Right. What was that? So between forming the intention, I would like to share sexual space with you, and actually doing something about it, let's stretch that out. That can be days, weeks, months, or years between the, oh, hello, and, hey, here we are. My favorite story is a wonderful sex educator out there called Barbara Corellis, Urban Tantra
Tantra, TANTRA.org. She's amazing. Her books are amazing. She's amazing. So we met at a function, and instantly, I like you. I like you back.
Aww.
6 years, and we would see each other every now and again, and then, 6 years after the initial, I like you, we actually ended up having a lovely sexual encounter.
Wow.
Beautiful, fabulous. And I have not physically seen her in over 5 years or 6 years, and I know I love her and she loves me.
Aww.
But because so once we decide that we're going to share this energy, it doesn't matter when.
No.
Especially if the people in question are doing their personal growth and they're doing their masturbation. And then she had other sex partners and I have other sex partners, so let's not forget that. We're both not monogamous people, so there's
right.
that we have the opportunity to but because we talk about it and we decide what is our sexual interaction, what is it? And that any two people can do that. So I call it your sexy Venn diagrams. So in my Venn diagram are all the things that I like to do with people, and in your Venn diagram there are all things you like to do with people. And so the purpose of a coffee date is seeing in any way can these overlap at all. Now, for example, let's say you were in between relationships. So you are in your mind you're single and you are quote unquote available.
Yeah.
So maybe your sexy Venn diagram and my sexy Venn diagram would be a makeout session with a hand job. But with another person, our sexy Venn diagram may be anal fisting.
Yeah.
So because we can talk about it.
It just depends on the two people and where they're at and who they are and all that.
And how comfortable are they admitting to themselves?
Exactly.
What does sex mean to me, and where does it fit into my life, and how do I want to interface with it? So if you and this is regular movies, forget porno movies, which are again a big old cartoon, they're live action.
Yeah,
cartoons,
it's not really. Yeah, exactly.
But Hollywood's no better.
No, it's
you
worse.
Look at me. That they lock eyes across a room and they
at the end they have the big fight
or they're tumbling into bed with a mad passion and they wake and then the next thing you know that it's the next morning and they're tousled and wow that was great. It's like that was great for a movie, but so many even people who do not look at pornography often think sex has to be a certain way, and as opposed to sex has to be what we say it is.
Right.
We say it is what you and I say it is. So once we can unhook our behavior from the media and view what works for me, what do I believe? Where did I learn how to do that? Is that true for me or not? So my parents' beliefs were in, obviously, modesty and monogamy and all that, and loyalty and kindness. And so I had to, what did I keep from my parents? I kept being kind, being honest, don't be a douche. But I had to drop the monogamy thing and sex for babies.
And that's okay because it works for you and you weren't hurting anybody intentionally.
Exactly.
That's all that matters, in my opinion.
So every adult is charged with that task, is figuring out for themselves, taking in my history, my culture, blah, 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 what is sex meaning for me, and how am I going to do it in my life? And learning how to do this for ourselves is difficult, but really useful because it will up your chances of finding some compatible partner. It will up your chances of finding, quote-unquote, sexual satisfaction or being, quote-unquote, happy with your sex life. But more importantly, when we can relieve ourselves from the internalized judgment and shame that our culture puts on everybody,
of course,
it frees up so much energy for other things. And we stop beating ourselves with a hammer. Until we stop hitting ourselves in the head with a hammer, we don't realize how much we've been hurting ourselves for all these years.
And we do so much, and it's all that wounded inner child, subconscious damage. That's where it all is at, baby.
That is it. And so, now our inner child is now housed in our outer adult. So our outer adult it is useful. There's a reason that 5-year-olds aren't allowed to drive.
Yep.
And yet most of us and Nina raises her hand here, most of us spend a lot of our early adulthood with our inner child driving the bus.
Right.
We don't know that that's what's going on, but it's going on. And until we recognize how and when that's happening and how that hurts us, we cannot get a handle on getting her hands off of the wheel and say, sweetheart, you can move to the back seat now because mommy has this or daddy has this. And then taking charge of our own lives and our own recovery from, and I think I use recovery in the broadest sense, recovery from being in a sex-phobic culture, or recovery from drugs, or recovery from erotophobia, or recovery from being abused as children, or even sexually harmed.
It's wide.
It's wide. It's very wide. But each of us, that's my job. You can't fix me. My therapist can't fix me. My doctor can't fix me. My God can't fix me. Only I can fix me. I can use my friend's help. I can use my therapist's help.
You can use the tools and the cognitive tools that are presented to you, but in the end, it's you alone with you and back to being alone in a room again with yourself. Can you handle it without checking out, pigging out, drugging out, or drinking out, right? Yeah, so and that's like I always say, the easy thing is usually the wrong thing, and the hard thing is usually the right thing. The easy thing would be to do drugs or do alcohol, but in the long run, it makes things harder. The hard thing is to accept who you are, be alone with yourself, deal with these issues whatever way you want to, and that's the hard thing. But in the long run, it's going to be easier because you're going to get more in tune with yourself, especially that inner child, that subconscious.
What he said.
Wow! Thank you. You know, the thing is that first of all, and I mean this with all sincerity too, is you're exposing yourself, and that takes a lot for a person to do. And this is a radio interview, blah 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 blah, whatever. But on a human level, I'm talking to you now as a human level. It's very cool what you're saying because you're exposing yourself, and that takes a lot because a lot of us, we just want to seem a certain way because that's just like we've said before, is society. But it takes a lot. It takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of balls, and it takes a lot of growth. To things that you've been telling me, and I have to. For me, I go through the same thing myself, but I want to say on my behalf, I really respect you for that, and I think it's really cool, and I just want happy things for you, and I want you to just realize that because it takes a lot of courage what you're doing, and really getting really deep into the subconscious. It's hard, and you're doing it, and I'm really impressed, and I'm very proud of you.
Well, thank you, Pumpkin. I like you too. I look forward to meeting you. When one of these days in person.
Oh, that'd be great. It'd be really great. You're just a sweetheart, and I want to thank you so much for being on Bob's Radio Cafeteria, and I'd love to have you on again because there's so much more to talk about.
I will never speak to you again. Never. You cannot make me.
I know. Well, just don't talk about those stupid 49ers, and maybe we. Can you imagine me?
Oh my gosh.
3 hated franchises. Howie is the Steelers, you're the 49ers, and I'm the Cowboys. This is like the
Well, the Steelers were the first to get 5 rings, and then I think the Niners and then Cowboys?
The Niners. No, the Niners got their 5th one when they beat the Chargers. Then the Cowboys got their 5th one the next year when they beat the Steelers.
Oh, wow! But the Steelers already had their 5, so they beat everybody to the punch.
No, they didn't get their 5 until the 2000s. They were when they lost to the Cowboys. So when the Cowboys got their last Super Bowl they've ever been in, when they got their 5th ring, the Steelers were 4-0 in the Super Bowl. So the Cowboys beat them; they were 4-1. Then they won 2 Super Bowls in the 2000s, and then they lost one against Green Bay. So they're wait. So they've won 6 Super Bowls.
Get out of town.
Wow. All right. I'm getting on AC transfer.
No. I totally believe you. You have a wonderful evening, mister, and I look forward to talking to you again.
And one last thing, make sure to tell people where they can find you before you get off Bob's Radio. Where can they find you?
On Twitter at Nina Land and not safe for work, Nina.com.
Thank you so much, Nina Hartley. You're the best. Thanks for being on Bob's Radio Cafeteria, and of course you can find me.
Thanks for having me.
Yay! Of course, you can find me Facebook.com/Bob's Radio Cafeteria and Comfortably Zone Radio Network and all that good stuff. Bye!
Bye!